I wanted it to make me. I wanted her to be proud of the person I would become. I didn't want her worried or her legacy to be that, William or Harry were completely and utterly devastated by it.
What if the most potent symbol of royal strength was just a 15-year-old boy masking a broken heart? On August 31st, 1997, as nations mourned the loss of Princess Diana, young Prince William was not just saying goodbye to his mother. He was learning what it meant to bury his pain for the sake of a kingdom. His silence became legendary, his grief became ritual, and that funeral walk became a prophecy. Now, decades later, the boy who walked behind the coffin is the man reshaping the monarchy, not with crowns and titles, but with the truth Diana left behind. This isn't just a story of loss. It's about a resilient legacy, a courageous rebellion, and a necessary reckoning within Britain's most powerful family. The Boy Who Walked Behind the Coffin. August 31st, 1997. The world stood still. As dawn broke over Paris, a single tragedy tore through headlines, homes, and hearts worldwide. Princess Diana was dead. In a horrific crash inside Paris's Pont de l'Alma tunnel, Diana, Princess of Wales, admired not just for her title, but for her heart, was taken from the world at just 36 years old. But while the world mourned, two boys, just 15 and 12, were experiencing a different kind of devastation. The loss not of a symbol, but of a mother. The funeral came swiftly, and, like every chapter of Diana's life, was a public spectacle soaked in expectation and sorrow. But no moment from that day remains etched in the public memory quite like this. Alongside his brother, Prince Harry, his father, Prince Charles, his grandfather, Prince Philip, and his uncle, Charles Spencer, William participated in what would become one of the most haunting royal images in modern history. His face was blank, his lips pressed tightly. He walked not from instinct, but from duty. The world watched in silence, unsure whether to admire the courage or question the cruelty. How could two children grieve publicly like this, parading their pain for billions of eyes? Some criticized it, others praised the strength. But what was truly hidden was what it meant for William, the silent weight of legacy. Prince William Arthur Philip Louis was not merely a boy that day. He was the future King of England, shouldering both the emotional weight of personal grief and the symbolic pressure of royal resilience. Within the monarchy, grief follows rules. Tears are discouraged. Emotion is contained, not expressed. And for centuries, royals have embodied the show must go on philosophy. But Diana had rebelled against that philosophy for years, speaking openly about her depression, mental health struggles, and breakdowns. She redefined what strength looked like in a family built on image. That funeral was William's first test of those identities. The Queen's grandson, Diana's son, and the future monarch. At just 15, he had to learn, sooner than most, how to wear a mask of tradition over an open wound. In the days following Diana's death, the monarchy faced sharp criticism. Where were the flags? Why wasn't the Queen speaking? Why were William and Harry kept out of view? Behind the scenes, chaos reigned. Roya, our advisors, debated protocol. Charles flew to Paris to personally escort Diana's body home. The Queen, deeply traditional, was reluctant to break precedent. But for William, there was no debate, no headlines, just pain. An unbearable storm of loss, confusion, anger, and isolation. He later admitted, years later in candid interviews, that he experienced waves of numbness, where even tears couldn't form. Not because he didn't feel, but because the environment around him didn't allow space for grief. Inside Balmoral Castle, William and Harry were temporarily shielded, but not emotionally supported. There were no grief counselors, no warm embraces, just a stoic institution, steeped in 1,000 years of emotional suppression, revealing the human side of the royal family. And within it, two boys expected to carry on as princes. What does it do to a person when your mother, the only person who let you cry freely, is gone? What happens when the world turns your mourning into museum material? For Prince William, the effects were long-lasting. He became obsessed with control, order, purpose, the need to project stability, even while feeling broken inside. Palace insiders noted that William's demeanor shifted drastically after Diana's funeral. The once timid, occasionally boisterous teenager became focused, measured, and increasingly aware of the role he was born into. The press gave him a label, the composed one. They praised William's grace as royal in training, unaware that his silence was not composure, but pain buried beneath obligation. Years later, he confessed that every flashbulb reminded him of his mother. Public events often triggered private trauma, that he struggled with memories of her smell, her smile, moments he might never get back. And so an unspoken vow was made within him. I may not be able to fix what killed her, but I will try to fix what she tried to change. And that vow, the mission Diana began, paved the road to what would eventually become William's challenge to the monarchy's deepest flaws. A challenge that, decades later, would erupt once again, this time powered by William's voice, Harry's rebellion, and, most controversially, the reign of King Charles III. From grief came resolve, from suffering, silence. But silence, like truth, never stays buried forever. The book that shook the crown. In late 2023, an author known for stirring up royal controversies returned with a tidal wave of new revelations. Omid Scobie's book, Endgame, was more than just a tell-all. It was a bold call-out. Often labeled as a Harry and Meghan insider, Scobie claimed that the future king, Prince William, had quietly provided damaging insights about his brother and father. What made this accusation particularly explosive was that it originated from within the royal establishment. The book suggested that William, who was once seen as the ideal royal, had shared sensitive details to protect the monarchy's image at any cost. One of the most sensational revelations? Scobie alleged that William may have intentionally leaked harmful information about Prince Harry to undermine his brother's credibility, especially following the release of Harry's memoir, Spare, and his controversial Netflix docuseries. Was this a case of sibling rivalry, strategic monarchy management, or a betrayal born of desperation? While the palace issued no official response, insiders quickly dismissed the book, labeling it as gossip, fiction, and PR fluff. However, among royal watchers and political analysts, the message was clear. The House of Windsor was embroiled in an internal conflict. William and Harry, who were once inseparable, found their bond strained. They had navigated grief together as children, often finding solace in humor and brotherhood amidst the constraints of their royal upbringing. Yet, time and duty have a way of changing everything. By 2020, when Harry and Meghan stepped back from royal duties, the rift between the brothers became glaringly evident. Some attribute this divide to Meghan, while others argue that Harry grew weary of the press, racism, and the controlling nature of royal life. What's harder to acknowledge is how complicit William may have been. According to Endgame, William not only sanctioned smear campaigns against Harry, but also encouraged them, hoping to restore royal order. Supporters argue that William was acting to protect the crown, while critics contend he was merely preserving his power. But at what cost? The brotherhood forged in the shadow of Princess Diana was now fractured, and the echoes of that loss reverberated through Harry's pain and William's public persona. King Charles III, a crown without a kingdom of hearts. When King Charles III finally ascended to the throne in 2022, it was anticipated to be his moment of triumph. However, instead of experiencing coronations and unity, his reign began amidst a storm of suspicion, leaks, and unresolved grief. Charles had waited a lifetime to be king, over 70 years in the wings. But by the time he reached center stage, the audience had thinned. The days of unquestioned loyalty were gone. Now, every word he spoke was analyzed, and every silence scrutinized. His relationships with his sons had deteriorated over time. To Harry, he had become more of a symbol of disappointment than a father. And what about William? On paper, they shared the same goals: to protect the firm, uphold the Queen's legacy, and keep the family together. But emotionally, they had become strangers to each other. According to Scobie's Endgame, William no longer seeks his father's approval. Instead, he sees himself as the new architect of the monarchy's future, a modernizer, unafraid to distance himself from a fading crown. In return, Charles has grown increasingly distant from both sons, opting for tight control and minimal confrontation. One palace aide noted anonymously, "They're kings in name, but emperors of silence." When Harry and Meghan took the unprecedented step of sitting down with Oprah, the floodgates opened. Diana's eldest son had held the line, but her youngest unleashed the truth. They made accusations of racism, mental health neglect, and isolation. Sound familiar? Meghan described being ignored by the very institution that had once ignored Diana. Harry, with raw regret, shockingly admitted, "I felt trapped." He blamed much of his trauma on his family's inaction, particularly King Charles's. However, he didn't stop there. He raised suspicions that unnamed family members who were close to him had leaked stories to the press in an attempt to protect their image. Although he didn't name names, the implications pointed firmly toward William. William the strategist, protector or betrayer? Is Prince William a victim or a calculated tactician? For most of his early adult life, William was the favorite at the palace. Handsome, stoic, and perceived as safe. However, William has shown considerable evolution in recent years. Behind the scenes, aides report that he has become more assertive, demanding, and above all, protective of his vision for the monarchy. When leaks threatened the institution, he reportedly supported legal actions. While Meghan and Harry were dominating the headlines, William's team was not idle. Scobie's book suggests that William is involved in palace strategy just as much as his father is. This has led to questions in some circles, including, is William continuing his mother's legacy? Or is he wielding the knife she once avoided? The Queen's ghost and the public's eyes. Two women significantly influenced Prince William, his mother, Diana, and his grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II. Queen Elizabeth II represented tradition, while Diana embodied vulnerability. Both women left a lasting legacy, albeit through different perspectives. With King Charles now on the throne and Diana's spiritual presence ever present, Prince William faces a challenging balancing act. Will he hold on to the crown with the same unwavering strength as his grandmother, or will he take the risks his mother envisioned in her pursuit of change? Just weeks before the release of Endgame, reports indicated that Charles once again avoided meeting with Harry. Some speculated, was this at William's suggestion? And if so, was it a matter of strategy or sorrow? Is he attempting to protect the legacy or to bury it? Prince William was born into a life of inherited power, but shaped by inherited pain. He walks a narrow path marked by two of the most influential forces in royal history: Diana, who was loud with love, and Elizabeth, who was quiet with command. Now, with King Charles facing increasing scrutiny, rumored health issues, and declining public confidence, William must decide what kind of king he wants to be. Will he rule by tradition and duty, or by compassion and candor? Will he reconcile with his brother, or bury that chapter of his life forever? Will he embrace the truth that Diana was trying to share with the world? The truth that the monarchy must change or risk falling? We may not have all the answers, but one thing is sure. The silence surrounding Diana's death is beginning to resonate. In the corridors of Buckingham Palace, in the pages of controversial books, and the hearts of the public around the world, Diana's legacy endures. Her sons have not forgotten her, and now they are finally finding their voices.